night. Welcome to Patrick's Dark Corner.
Hey, what's up everyone? So today I have one of the most twisted and tangled stories that I've ever covered, so let's jump into it right now. In the summer of 2012, Dave Krupa was a 34-year-old car mechanic and manager at a store called Hyatt Tire. Dave had just gotten out of a 10-year relationship with a woman named Amy Flora. He and Amy had 2 kids together, but they broke up because Dave refused to get married to her. And Dave's commitment issues are going to be a common theme through this story. Dave was living in a sparse bachelor pad in Omaha, Nebraska. He was really close to his kids and Amy, so he got lots of visitation, which was great, but Dave was looking for some female companionship, no strings attached. Dave turned to Plenty of Fish, which was a really large dating website at that time. Dave went on dates with a lot of women from Plenty of Fish. There was Jenny, June, Teresa, Laura. Dave met 37-year-old Cari Farver the old-fashioned way.
Counter managing the shop, and I'm the person greeting customers when they come in, and an extremely attractive woman walks in the door.
It's a woman named Cari Farver.
She brought her Ford Explorer into his shop to be worked on, and she was beautiful. A lighthearted air about her.
When we looked at each other, there was a little spark. You know, we both smiled. You know, you feel that sometimes.
Dave was working though, and Cari was a customer, so he didn't ask her out at that time. A couple of days later, Dave found Cari's profile on Plenty of Fish and sent her a message saying, "Hey, I know you." And they had a brief conversation. A couple weeks later, Cari came into Dave's shop again, and this time the two exchanged numbers and expressed their interest in one another.
She's showing me something inside the vehicle, and we're standing there, and we're very close, you know, within a couple inches of each other, and there's some tension.
Cari talked to me about meeting Dave, and she was like, you know, this guy, totally not my type, but there was just something there.
Dave and Cari had their first date at an Applebee's in Omaha. Cari let Dave know that she was also a parent. She had a 15-year-old son named Maxwell, or Max, and she was a computer engineer for a large firm. Cari was very lighthearted. She was smart, witty, and of course, very beautiful. So Dave was really taken with her. But their date was interrupted when Dave's phone kept blowing up. It was a woman named Shanna Elizabeth Golyar, who goes by Liz. Liz was another woman who Dave had met on Plenty of Fish, and the two had been seeing each other for the past 4 months. She was also a single parent with kids around the same age as Dave's.
Liz loved taking selfies and sending them to her friends.
She was sexy, she was bright and shiny, and she was very engaging.
Dave says he was upfront with Liz when they met. He was dating several women and not looking for a commitment.
Anyway, Liz was calling because she needs some things back that she had left at Dave's apartment. They were just little things, like a toothbrush and some pants, but Liz said that she needed them right now. Dave told Liz that he was on a date and to leave him alone. Dave took Cari back to his apartment, but they were again interrupted when Dave's security buzzer kept going off. Dave went out to the gate to meet Liz, and he again said that he had a date in there. But Liz started crying and refused to leave until she was let in to get her stuff. Dave went back in and explained the situation to Cari, who actually seemed really understanding. She said something like, "We've all been there. Let me know when it's settled." Dave walked Cari out as he let Liz in, and the two women ignored each other. 19 minutes later, Cari texted Dave, inviting him to her house. When Dave arrived to Cari's house, she was brewing tea and smiling, and as Cari talked, Dave realized that she was really smart. This attracted Dave even more. Cari let Dave know that she also wasn't looking for any commitment.
I felt like I hit the jackpot with that. I couldn't have wrote it better.
Dave and Cari kept dating for the next 2 weeks. Cari's workplace was actually within walking distance of Dave's house. So when Cari told Dave that she had a big project at work, Dave offered to let Cari stay at his place, rather than commute 2 hours to work from her house. On November 13th of 2012, Dave and Cari got up really early because Dave had to be at work super early. Cari got right to work, working on some work of her own on her laptop. Dave left at 6:25 a.m., saying he would see Cari later that night. At 10 a.m. at work, Dave got a text from Cari asking if she could move in with him.
She texts me and says, let's move in together, which was very left field because we had already talked about that not happening. As soon as I can, I text her back and say, I'm not interested, I can't do that. And almost immediately I get a message back that says, fine, I hate you, I'm dating someone else, I don't want to see you anymore. Go away, lots of profanity.
Dave was obviously really taken aback and surprised by this because Cari had seemed so chill just a few hours before, and he wondered what could have happened. But Dave also understood that people put on their best face in the start of a relationship, and so he thought he had just dodged a bullet with Cari. Lots of other people in Cari's life started to get strange messages from her. Cari's work got an email from her saying that she had found another job in Kansas and would be leaving. Her mom, Nancy Rainey, got an email saying the same thing.
Started getting text messages that said that she was taking a job in Kansas, which totally threw me. When I said something to Max about it, he said, well, she had kind of looked at a job down in Kansas. He thought possibly there was a job down there she went to.
Cari was due to show up to her half-brother's wedding, where her son Max would be an usher, but Cari never showed up to that wedding. She also never showed up to her friend's baby shower, which she had planned for 3 days. Cari's mom tried to call and text her, but she got no response. So she decided to call the police to report Cari as a missing person. She let the police officer know that Cari was diagnosed with anxiety, and one doctor also diagnosed her with bipolar disorder.
Started developing depression.
Cari had been diagnosed in her 20s with bipolar disorder.
There was one point when she just pretty much was underneath the covers for a good week, maybe 10 days.
She was scared about it, but at the same time knew that she was taking all the steps that she needed to keep it in check and under control.
She had been seeing therapists and was on medication. There was a couple of times when she would stop taking the medication because she said, Mom, I feel like I'm just numb.
Cari had also left behind her medicine at her house. Once the cop heard about Cari's mental history, he decided that Cari had gone off for medicine and ran off. But she would show up eventually, and there was no need to worry. Besides, it's not like no one had heard from Cari. She was sending texts to her mother. She would say things like that her mom was a bad mom and she was too controlling. And she said that Dave had broken up with her and she was going to check herself into a mental hospital. Cari was also sending a lot of texts to Dave Krupa.
Along the lines of, I hate you, you ruined my life, you're a terrible person.
Most of Cari's texts to Dave, though, seemed to focus on Liz Golyar, the woman who dated Dave on and off for 4 weeks before he had met Cari. Cari seemed to blame Liz for ruining her relationship with Dave. Liz claimed that Cari had broken into her garage and spray painted "Whore from Dave" on the wall. Cari had also apparently been texting and emailing Liz as well. Liz called Dave furious, wondering how that nut had gotten her phone number, her address, and her email. Dave called Liz over to discuss the vandalism, and although Liz was pretty upset with Dave for bringing her into his mess, she didn't place all the blame on him. She said, "The world is full of nuts." Although she did say that if Dave had just stayed committed to her, that maybe none of this would have ever happened. Liz said that some old checks were stolen from her garage. At the same time, Liz and Dave received texts from Cari bragging about the vandalism she had done in Liz's garage. Cari was also still very active on Facebook, where she was posting crazy stuff. Cari also seemed to be spying on Dave from outside of his apartment.
On one specific occasion, I was sitting in my lazy boy with my feet up, watching TV, trying to relax, and it's nighttime. And I get a text saying, I see you, you're sitting in your chair with your feet propped up, wearing a blue shirt, and those things were true.
Cari almost got Dave fired from work because she kept calling and hanging up. She also started harassing Dave's ex-wife, Amy Flora, basically cursing at her, calling her names, and threatening her children. The stalking seemed to bring Dave and Liz closer together, though, as they sought comfort from each other through the stalking. This really enraged Cari. One email said, "So how did Liz like having her life destroyed while she was with you? That's what will happen to everyone else who comes into your life." Cari would also text her mother saying that she was coming to take Max away with her. Max really didn't believe that it was his mom sending the text or acting on Facebook, but just in case, he did send his mom a Facebook message.
Hi. And she immediately wrote him back, "Hey little man, how are you?" He asked her to answer 3 questions to prove that it was really her. What his middle name was, what the name of their first boxer was, and what his best friend's name was. And she never responded to that message.
Then Cari posts on Facebook, "I've answered enough questions to prove myself. I'm not missing, I just don't want to come home right now."
See, Cari missed her own birthday and even her father's passing. Cari's dad had stomach cancer, and she would always visit him in hospice, never knowing when it would be the last time she saw him. So when Cari never showed up to his funeral, Cari's family really got concerned that something had happened to her. Cari texted, "I'm sorry I missed the funeral." Nancy responded, "The only way I will know that this is you is if you call me and I hear your voice."
The weather had changed. It was starting to get colder. We went into her house, and I noticed her winter coat was sitting on the chair. And I thought, she doesn't have any warm clothes with her. What is she going to do? How is she getting along? Where is she eating? What is she doing?
It seemed that Cari was really busy still stalking Dave. She kept sending Dave threatening text messages and emails.
The messages said things like, "I hate you so much I want to drive a knife through your heart. Hey, lose, so am I ruining your life yet?"
He would change his number all the time, but she somehow always managed to find his new number. Emails came from weird screen names like Dave's girl Cari and Cari Krupa 76. Cari was also doing the same thing to Liz. Dave and Liz referred to Cari as Crazy Cari.
What we would say, Crazy Cari. Oh, Crazy Cari this. Oh, I got another email from Crazy Cari.
One time, Cari sent Dave a picture of a woman with dark hair duct taped. Her face was turned, but Cari said that the woman was Liz, and that if Dave didn't break up with her, that Cari would kill her. Luckily, when Dave called Liz to check on her, Liz said that everything was fine. Cari would even threaten platonic female friends who came into Dave's house just once.
In January of 2014, I drove from Sioux Falls to Omaha to visit with Dave. I have known Dave since high school. Dave and I have just always had a special connection. We've always been more than friends.
We were in the living room of the apartment, just chatting old times.
Within a couple of hours, his phone was going crazy.
Apparently, Cari saw her come in. I actually got a text to the effect of, "I see you in there with that whore."
He told me that he was having issues with an ex that was stalking him. A few hours later, we were in bed, getting ready to go to sleep, and the next thing I hear sounded like a gunshot to me, which was actually a brick being thrown through the bathroom window. I was in a panic. I didn't know what was happening. Police, they came over and talked to Dave for a few minutes.
Cari would set up meetings with Dave, but then pull out when he agreed. She also even told him that she had moved into the same apartment complex as him. On the morning of January 8th, Dave spotted Cari's Ford Explorer in his apartment complex parking lot. He knew it was Cari's car because he had worked on the car and that's how they met. And so he was certain it was her car and contacted the police. Cops who were looking for Cari as a stalker in one state and as a missing person in another were able to team up. Both Dave and Liz voluntarily gave their cell phones over to the police, but it would take them a while to sift through the thousands of text message, emails, and call logs. It had been 5 months since Cari went missing, and her family started to give up hope when Nancy received an encouraging phone call. It was from a man claiming to be Dave. He said that Cari was at the Sienna Francis homeless shelter, and she wanted her mom to come pick her up. Cari's mom got really excited and raced over to the homeless shelter with cops. The cops went in there first, but they came out shaking their heads. Cari was not there.
It was such a letdown, and I was just devastated. I get this raising my hopes, and then it's dashed again.
Around this time, Cari's friend Amber also got a text from Cari saying,
"Hey, I made a really big mistake, and I took off for a while, and I'm ready to come home now." And I was like, "I'm here. Let's get you home." I could never get her to say that she would meet me anywhere.
Meanwhile, it seemed Cari was still busy scaring people. She sent Dave a message with a picture of Liz's kids. The message said,
"These are the ugliest kids, just like their whore mother. They should die with their whore mother, so I don't have to see their ugliness anymore."
The stalker also sent Liz messages too. She wrote to Liz,
"If you don't keep your hands and lips off my man, I will hurt you."
Crazy Cari took things to the next level, though, in August of 2016 when she burned down Liz's house.
Fire trucks all up and down the street, and there's firemen walking around, and there's hoses, and they're pouring water into place.
Luckily, her children were not home, but many of her belongings were still there, including 2 dogs, a cat, and a snake, and they all were killed in this fire.
From what I've seen so far looking inside, it's pretty obvious this is an intentionally set fire.
The guy that I'm seeing, he has a girlfriend that he dated for 2 weeks, and she's been stalking me since November.
Do you know her name?
It's Cari, C-A-R-I. She has made threats towards me and my kids. She would kept texting me telling me she wanted to kill me and my kids. You would think they were married as much as she's stalking me. She won't leave me alone. She will not go away. I just wish she would go away.
Liz kept getting possessive of Dave, though, and constantly accused him of cheating on her with his ex-wife, Amy Flora. Amy was being stalked by Cari also, and Amy remembers one time she was hanging out with her friend when she got a threatening message from Cari, and Amy thought out loud, "Cari is Liz. The real Cari is dead." But then she and her friend decided that they had watched too many Lifetime movies. It turns out that Amy wasn't the only one thinking this. In the spring of 2015, detectives Ryan Avis and Jim Doty volunteered to take on the Cari Farver case. Besides the fact that Cari had missed all these family events, the texts that were sent from Cari were full of errors in spelling and grammar. Cari's friends and family said that she was really meticulous about spelling and grammar, and she would never send a text unless everything was perfect. In the text Cari sent to women, she would always call them fat whores. Cari's mom said that the real Cari would never make fun of someone for their physical appearance. Meanwhile, Cari, or whoever was pretending to be her, struck out again. This time they spray painted Dave Beats women on a wall in his car repair shop. Cari's imposter also played a cruel trick on Cari's mother and son, wishing them both the happy Mother's Day. Meanwhile, the detectives who were working on Cari's case were struck by the amount of time the name Shanna Liz Golyar was coming up.
This lady had no involvement in Cari's life until all of a sudden she went missing.
According to Liz, she only met Cari once in this brief encounter outside of Dave's apartment.
All of a sudden she's this focus of harassment. Her name was all over all the reports. So to me, there was something with Liz. She definitely was a person of interest.
Cari's resignation email to her job said that she would be sending in a woman named Shanna Golyar to fill her spot. So, Shanna is her first name, but she goes by her middle name, Liz. So, I'll just call her Liz to make it easier. Anyways, Liz came in to interview for Cari's position, but she wasn't qualified and did not get the job. Cops discovered that the photo of the woman bound and gagged that was sent to Dave, that picture was actually taken on a phone that was the same model as the one Liz had.
I realized that Liz had put duct tape on her own mouth, tied up her own hands, and crawled into the trunk of a car.
On May 8, 2015, Detective Doty went over to the home of Cari's mother, Nancy Rainey, and he let her know that he believed that Cari was no longer alive. Nancy was actually overjoyed by this news because she had believed this pretty much all along. and she was just happy the police finally agreed with her and she gave over her phone as evidence. Immediately, detectives found a strange text on Nancy's phone. It was a $5,000 check signed by Shauna Golyar. The text was telling Cari's mom that Cari was selling her furniture set and to let the buyer, Liz, in to pick up the furniture. The signature in the picture matched other signatures Liz had. Detectives saw that Liz had called Cari under a *67 number to make it anonymous a week before Cari went missing, while she was still with Dave. Detectives also found a picture of Cari's car on Liz's phone with a timestamp of Christmas Eve 2012.
We looked at the metadata of that photo, and it was taken about a month before police even recovered her vehicle. So somehow Liz knew where Cari's vehicle was before law enforcement even did.
Cari's Ford Explorer had been totally washed down and there's no evidence on it except for one fingerprint on a can of mints in the car, and the fingerprint matched Liz's.
One of the things we did when we took the case is we had that fingerprint compared to Liz's fingerprints, and it was a match.
Jody delivered startling news to Dave Krupa. He told him that they suspected that Liz Golyar was pretending to be Cari.
Police had come to me and said, Liz is the culprit, but I still hadn't seen any evidence myself. So I was either trying to ignore the whole thing or trying to understand how this person I spent so much time with could be this other person I didn't know.
He never questioned his stalker's identity. She said she was Cari, so who else could it be?
Dave would receive messages from Cari while he and Liz were together, so Dave thought, how could Liz be the stalker?
As detectives worked on this case, they were shocked when one day Liz walked in wanting to file a harassment complaint on Dave's ex, Amy Flora.
Dave Krupa.
Dave Krupa?
R-O-U-P-A.
That's yours. And he has kids with Amy Flora.
Not even 2 days after he broke up, his apartment was broken into and his gun was stolen. So I told the police officer I was kind of worried that since she has the key to his apartment. Like I said, they only dated for 2 weeks, and I don't understand why a person would still be stalking him almost 3 years later.
Cari and Dave dated for 2 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
And she
Supposedly is the one stalking for three years.
Wow.
I would find it more reasonable to believe that his kid's mom is the
The next night at 6:45 in the evening, Liz went to Big Lake Park to clear her mind of everything that was going on. When she called 911,
911, what's the address of your emergency?
Oh, yeah. I've been shot in the leg. Oh, God. Oh, Jesus.
Liz said that she couldn't see the person, but a woman's voice said, "How do you like effing Dave?" before ordering her to the ground and shooting her.
What she looked like at all?
No, she was behind me.
At first, Liz said that she didn't know who the woman was, but then she changed her story and said that it sounded like Amy Flora.
I feel like it's just written on the wall what it is. It's Amy shot you with Dave's gun, isn't it?
Pretty much, that's what I'm thinking. Dave's still in the thing.
But cops knew that Amy was at home that entire night the shooting happened.
Shooting happened. This is finally when Dave gets it.
At this point, Dave can no longer deny the truth. It's Liz, not Cari, who's been tormenting and stalking him for all these years.
It was undeniable at that point. I knew it was her, and I knew it had to be my gun. It was like running into a brick wall in a race car. It'd be like if gravity just failed. The first thing my mind did was start to go back to all the things that had happened over all these years, and how did I not see anything, and how could I be so naive or so stupid or so gullible? Everything you thought you knew was a lie.
For Dave, the frustration at this point is overwhelming.
If they don't arrest her soon, I'm gonna kill her.
Meanwhile, Anthony Cava, a computer expert who is working with the cops, found some more evidence on Liz's phone. He actually was able to find things that Liz thought she had deleted. He discovered that Liz was using an app called Texty, which let you send out text at a certain time, like say 7:10 p.m. or whatever. So that's how she was able to send texts while she was with Dave. He also discovered that Liz used VPNs and proxy servers to make it hard to trace things back to her. Detectives call Liz in for an interview.
Regarding Cari Farver, are you familiar with her?
Barely even know her.
Yeah.
I ran into her one time.
Okay.
Just bypassing her, going into Dave's apartment to pick up my stuff.
They lie and say that they have found Cari's remains.
Pretty significant break in the case. Okay. There have been some remains that have been located.
Okay.
The initial indication is that these remains are Cari. Okay. Is there anyone that you think would want to hurt Cari?
I didn't know her long enough to know if anybody wanted to hurt her.
Immediately started shifting the blame to Amy Flora.
For 12 years. And she still goes in and out of his life all the time. So.
Yeah. So you think she could have been the person that did some of that stuff to you?
I'm just saying, as another person who would be possessive of Dave, it would be her. So, I mean, I wouldn't put it past her.
4 days later, Liz forwarded the detectives an email she had received from Amy with the subject line, "I shot you." In the email, Amy brags about how she shot Liz. Cops told Liz that they were investigating the murder of Cari Farver, not the shooting, and they needed evidence on that in order to lock Amy up. On December 20th, Liz forwarded detectives another email she received that was supposedly from Amy. This email said,
When I met Crazy Cari, she would not stop talking about Dave and him being her husband. She tried to attack me, but I attacked her with a knife. I stabbed her 3 or 4 times in the chest and stomach area, and then took her out and burned her. I stuffed her body in a garbage can with crap.
Some really good evidence, but cops needed more. So they decide they need to push Liz to her breaking point. So they told Dave to move in with Amy Flora.
She told me that the sheriffs had found remains, like somebody's dead, and that they thought it was this Cari, and that supposedly they had all this evidence against Amy.
I'd be damn near moved in with Amy if I were you. And since Liz did come and tell you this, I would avoid her like the plague right now.
A few days later, Liz calls detectives all upset.
That benefited was her. So she gets to shoot somebody, and then she gets to kill another person, and then she gets to move in with Dave, and she gets to be free. And you guys aren't arresting her. It's very graphic on what she did to her, and she's still not arrested.
Trying to build a case is very difficult.
Liz sent more emails as Amy to cops. In one of them, she mentioned a yin-yang tattoo on Cari's foot. She also mentioned that Cari had begged to call her family before she died. She also said that Cari was killed in her car. So the car was searched again with better tools, and they discovered Cari's blood was all over. So Liz was arrested and brought into an interrogation room.
Now, the reason why you're in this chair right now today is because you have a lot of questions that you need to answer for me. Her phone was at your house right after she disappeared. And I want to ask you how you can explain that to me, please.
She's never been to my house.
Your fingerprints are inside her vehicle. How would your fingerprints be inside her vehicle?
I don't know, because I've never been in her car.
You drove her car.
No, I didn't. I've never been inside her car. I've never even been around her car. Ever.
Your fingerprints are in there.
No, I haven't. I'm not lying. I've never been around her car. I've never even seen it.
For years and years, people have been sending emails under Cari's fictitious accounts. The IP addresses show up to whose house? Your house.
I haven't had internet at my house.
Why would you create all these emails?
I haven't created any emails.
All these have been coming from your house.
And I'm not going to be accused of something that I didn't do.
What do you think happened to Cari Farver?
I don't know. I don't know if what Amy's saying is true. I don't know.
Finger's pointing right at you.
Then I'm done talking, and I'm going to have my attorney, because I didn't do it.
Liz got herself a good defense attorney who seems like a pretty horrible person.
He waived the jury trial and to move it up so I could try this case hopefully before they find the body.
His name is James Martin Davis. He said that Liz was one of the most secretive clients that he ever had, and she didn't tell him much about anything. Liz was put on trial for the murder of Cari Farver and pled not guilty.
Nobody's seen or heard from Cari Farver in more than 4 years, but the defense argues with no body and no clear evidence of a murder, Shanna Golyar cannot be convicted. Dressed in plain clothes, 41-year-old Shanna Golyar appears in court for day one of her bench trial. She's accused of killing 37-year-old Cari Farver.
This is a bizarre and twisted case of a fatal attraction. It's about an obsessive woman that would stop at nothing to get what she wanted.
And prosecutors say what Golyar wanted was a man that Farver was seeing. Attorney Brenda Beadle outlining the events in the days before and after Farver went missing in November of 2012. The strange messages, texts, and emails that Beadle says Golyar was behind, pretending to be Farver for years after her disappearance.
It's so evil. It's so harsh for this family to see these and get hope. And she continues to do that.
43 pieces of evidence were submitted, most of them data from more than a dozen email accounts prosecutors say Golyar created. Her defense attorney, James Martin Davis, doesn't deny that these pieces of evidence may be true, but says they still don't prove his client killed Farver.
And you're going to not hear a single eyewitness saying, yeah, we saw her kill her. We saw her stab her. Not a single eyewitness even saw my client with the victim in this case.
Davis arguing that even the blood found in Farver's passenger car seat isn't enough to convict Golyar.
We will concede that blood is Cari Farver's, but we don't know when it was shed, and they can't tell you when it was shed.
Prosecution also brought several witnesses forward to testify, including 2 of Farver's co-workers at West Corporation. I'm told the trial will likely take more than a week. It continues tomorrow morning.
At trial, Liz had gained a lot of weight, which was interesting because her favorite insult was to call women fat whores, and now she was one. It was also revealed that Liz was not who she claimed to be. I'm sure you're surprised. Despite Liz being obsessed with Dave committing to her, Liz was sleeping with 2 different men at the time. One was a cop who she was pretty much just using for a place to stay, and another one was a 20-year-old guy named Fred. Years ago, Liz's first child, Cody Golyar, had died of shaken baby syndrome. There was a lot of evidence that Liz had done this, but instead, her mentally challenged baby daddy was put on trial and found guilty of this. There is a lot of people who say that Liz manipulated this mentally challenged man and that she did it. There's a lot of evidence that points that way, but she was never charged for it. Liz had a history of stalking. She stalked one of her other baby daddies after he dumped her, and she also stalked a new woman he was seeing. Dave testified at trial.
Did you ever hear Cari Farver's voice?
Negative.
Did you ever see her in person?
Negative.
So all the times you went looking for her around your apartment building and had everybody else looking for her, you never actually saw her?
If I had, this would have been over a long time ago.
During defense questioning, the defense pointed out that Krupa and Golyar had actually broken up a number of times, and Krupa never said anything about feeling threatened or feeling scared when that happened. He also pointed out that he had dated about 30 to 40 different women during that 4 years of time.
Plus, but the best evidence was actually from a tablet that Dave found in his apartment that Liz had left behind. On the tablet was an SD card with another picture of Cari's yin-yang tattoo. A forensic expert would testify that that tattoo was on the foot of a dead person. So it's like Liz's trophy, which is really, really creepy. Before trial, Liz was also able to score a 22-year-old boyfriend. It was a local man named Joshua Stemmer who was convinced of Liz's innocence. He bought clothes for Liz to wear for trial, and he would deliver the clothes to Liz's lawyer's office. Liz's defense was that no one saw her kill Cari, and it wasn't caught on tape, so there's no way you could convict her. On May 24th of 2017, Shanna Liz Golyar was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison, plus another 18 to 20 years for that arson.
What some people are capable of has always confounded and mystified the court. The only true justice in this case would be able to bring Cari Farver back to her family and friends. However, we know that's not possible. The only thing the justice system can provide to the family, friends, and the community is knowing that Cari Farver's killer has been caught convicted, and will spend the rest of her life in prison. It is the judgment and sentence of the court that Shanna Goliar be sentenced to life imprisonment on the charge of first-degree murder and 18 to 20 years on the charge of arson in the second degree.
After the trial, Cari's mom, Nancy Rainey, celebrated with police and talked to the media.
What would you say, or what would you ask Shanna Goliar now that she's been found guilty?
Why? It's just so unnecessary. She could just... Cari probably would have just gone away anyway. Short times. It's just, everything was just...
In November of 2017, Liz's lawyer got an email that was threatening Liz's children. It said that there was a hole in the ground for them unless Liz said where Cari's body was. An inmate at the prison where Liz is being held said that Liz is asking the other inmates to call her Cari. Creepy! So that is the story of Liz Goliar, definitely one of the most diabolical people I've covered on this channel. Let me know what you think of everything in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching.
In the darkness, where secrets hide, there's a corner where the truth resides. Gather round, all you seekers of the night. Welcome to Patrick's Dark Corner, where things come to light. Patrick's Dark Corner, uncovering the mysteries, diving deep into the dark, revealing